Kia ora, welcome to Central News for Tuesday, the 23rd of September 2014. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. One of the Waikato's most respected lawyers has been awarded an honorary doctorate from the University of Waikato. Warren Scotter, a senior partner at Harkness Henry and a specialist in litigation, has had a long career in practice and in law administration. He's appeared in hundreds of cases, often counsel of choice for many serious assault and sexual abuse cases, frequently acting for the underdog. More recently, his focus has been in areas of litigation about trusts, wills and estates. Mr Scotter has been president of the Waikato Bay of Plenty District Law Society, chair of the High Court Practice Committee, chair of the Society's Complaints Committee, councillor of the New Zealand Law Society, and a member of the New Zealand Law Society's executive. More recently, he's chaired the Law Society's Committee for Waikato Bay of Plenty. He's also been a strong supporter of the University of Waikato's Faculty of Law since it was established 25 years ago. Mr Scotter's honorary doctorate will be conferred on October the 22nd at a graduation ceremony at Claudelands Event Centre. Piranha Park's historic stone footbridge will be closed to the public for a month from next week for preventative maintenance to be carried out. The bridge is an important historic feature of the Riverside Park and was constructed in the 1930s when the park was gifted to the city by George Parr. Sally Sheedy, Hamilton City Council's Parks and Open Spaces manager, says that although the bridge remains structurally sound for pedestrian use, over time some cracks have appeared, allowing water to run through it. Ms Sheedy says contractors will install screw piles to safeguard the bridge's structural integrity and address the cracks with new grout. Because of the nature of the work that needs to be done, the bridge will be off limits to park users for the next 4 to 5 weeks. That will mean no direct access between Piranha Park and Memorial Park, but a detour will be in place. It's time to take a look at the marine forecast now. Raglan, you can expect a heavy southwest swell easing. A southerly of 25 knots with a rough sea also easing late on Wednesday and a southwest of 15 knots. High tide 10:42 tomorrow morning. Bay of Plenty, a very rough sea should ease with a southwest of 25 knots easing early on Wednesday to 15 knots. High tide 7:47 tomorrow morning. Still to come on Central News, Hillary speaks with an award-winning Bay of Plenty photographer. We find out about the new shelter for the homeless in Tauranga, and Amanda discusses the Karangahaki Gorge mining issue with Mayor John Tregear. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. A local Bay of Plenty photographer recently won the documentary category of the New Zealand Institute of Professional Photographers Award and received a standing ovation from his peers. Bob Tollock has been in the industry for over 40 years, and Hillary spoke to the stalwart to find out about his award-winning photography of the 150th commemoration Battle of the Gate Pa.
Yeah, sure. The NZIPP Awards are held every year. They have categories that we're allowed to submit our photographs into. The category I submitted that I won this year was called the documentary category, and it was the first time that they'd actually had that particular category. So I'd photographed the Battle of Gate Pa and the battle at Te Ranga, and they were such huge occasions. That I had a body of work in there that I thought I could submit that might be okay.
Your career spans over 40 years and you still enter the awards every year. How come?
I like doing it. I guess the reason behind it is it keeps me honest. I think it's easy for a photographer to fall into the trap of just dodging along as they always have. And I think at any artistic pursuit you need to challenge yourself regularly. So for me it's a benchmarking situation to see if I'm still up there with the rest of the country. And it's satisfying too when you achieve something. But primarily it's to make sure that I'm still good enough.
The photos that won were of the 150th commemoration of the Battle of Gate Pa. What drew you to that event as a photographer?
Well, I was lucky enough to go to some of the preamble things. There was a dinner and there was also a lovely symphony orchestra group held at the Huria Marae. And I could sense that the occasion was building up to something quite huge. And I was invited by the committee to be the photographer for the event. I guess part of it is because I've had quite a bit to do with Māoridom here. And because I do, photographs for books and things like that for myself, I'd like to think I'm a documentary photographer. So the outcome of that was, hey, I just have to do this. This is going to be something that's part of Tauranga's history, and I can record that, because the actual end result will be a little bit historical too in time.
How does one capture emotion through a photo, through a still image?
By being very quick. I guess what happens with me anyway as a photographer is you learn to see the opportunity and grab it. Maybe I haven't thought of it a lot, but I guess a lot of it comes back to wedding photography, which I have done a heck of a lot of in the past. And in wedding photography, you've just got such a raft of emotions happening that the great pictures you get in weddings are those moments. So when you transfer that into an occasion like the Battle of Gate Pa, it's very much the same. It's about being in the right spot, which I had to do a lot of. I had to move around a lot to get the right spot. And just because I knew some of the protocol of what happens in these type of events, I was able to, to grab those moments at times. It was very satisfying to get some of those, and there were times when I was almost a little bit worried that they were such sad occasions. It was quite hard to photograph almost.
Do you ever feel like you are being intrusive?
Well, I think that's a fair remark, but I came to the conclusion that I only get one opportunity to do this, and I just had to do it. There were a few times I probably got in the road of videographers, but it was just something, because they were depending on me so much to record the total event. I just had to do it.
And with that documentary style, how do you find that balance of not being too intrusive and capturing that moment?
I know enough about it that I know when not to get in the road, and it's a fine balance, I suppose. It was apparent there were people there that did get in the road, and it's such a sensitive situation. You've got to be very careful.
Over the years, what have been the major changes that you've seen to the industry?
Well, I suppose the first thing in the last 10 years, I suppose, is technology. The change from film to digital has made a massive difference, and it's still doing that. Then in the industry as a whole, one of the apparent things to me is, because I've been in Tauranga now for 40 years, and when I first came here there was a population of less than 40,000 people. Now there's nearly 140,000 people, but back then there were 6 studios. These were full-time working photographers that had staff, and they had their studios in Cameron Road, Devonport Road, and places where people could see their businesses. Now I think there's 2. So photographers now, instead of being Main Street type for businesses, they're tucked away in their homes working from a home studio. And digital has had an effect on that, because now it's about having, the equipment is different. You just need to have a good quality camera system and know a wee bit about what to do in the computer. For
more information, you can follow Bob on his Facebook page, Bob Tulloch Photography, or go to tullochphotography.co.nz. Up next on Central News, we find out about the new shelter for the homeless in Tauranga. Welcome back to Central News. For years, the homeless of Tauranga City have not had anywhere to go for a good night's sleep. But thanks to the vision and hard work of the Tauranga Moana Night Shelter Trust, they now have a good night's sleep and a shower available. Hilary spoke to some members to find out about life on the streets and whether they plan on providing a meal.
Yes, it's going to be one actual meal during the week. That'll be on a Sunday through St Vincent de Paul. But they do get a breakfast in the morning for when they leave. But we've been getting donations from a lot of places with food, so there probably might be a meal every night for them. But at the moment we haven't organised that as such.
Mike, can we stay longer than a night if we need to?
Yes, I can. We expect that there'll be some who will just want to come in overnight and gone, but we also know that there are people who will want to stay longer than that, and we will accommodate that. We're not doing anything for homelessness if we just simply clock them in, clock them out and send them away. For a number of people they're going to need a little bit more time and just to gather themselves, to get things sorted, and so we'll have some flexible arrangements around lengths of stay.
And there's going to be a part-time social worker here, so what's their role going to involve?
Having the social worker is really about providing the point of connection to start resolving issues. It might be with work and income, it might be medical issues or other things that need to be sorted out, and the social worker's there to provide that help and advocacy and support, because sometimes the challenges just seem overwhelming, but when you've got a social worker alongside you, sometimes maybe it just will help. So that's why that's going to happen.
And there's going to be house parents.
Oh, Andrew, you know them.
They're two ex-streeties from Tauranga here that got married and then became Christians, and then they heard about the house parent job, so they rung Mike and asked him if they could apply for it, and they did. So they're in the role for keeping, signing in people at night time, making sure that the house is tidy and kept clean, and they're there to basically help them out if they need help with different things as well.
And they actually got married on the street too, I hear.
Yes, yeah.
And there's going to be an overnight supervisor here.
Yeah, well, Whitney has had a life, that's for sure. And but he's another person who's come from that background, who, he's had his ups and downs and his challenges, but he's got his life sorted, and he sleeps over. As someone jokingly said, he gets to sleep on the job. And but he's here to provide a little bit of, just that security at night. So he sleeps in the hostel. The house parents sleep in the flat right next door.
Andrew, can you give us a bit of insight about what a facility like this means to someone who's been living on the street?
Well, it gives them a place to lay their head or sleep at night where they're not going to be woken up by security guards or the police to move on, or because in Tauranga here we have no facilities for them otherwise, like showers and things like that, so it gives them a place to have a shower, and that's probably the main thing for them really, is that, and having a bed for the night. So yeah, it's really good that it's here. And even though I met Mike in 2009 is when we first started, but I'd been trying to get this together for probably 5 years prior to that.
Why is there a need for something like this in Tauranga? How many people are living on the streets here?
The numbers are up and down. I could say from 15 that I know of up to 20 to 30 plus in Tauranga living rough.
And the thing is that when you have the rough sleepers that people may or may not see in parks and on benches and what have you, but there's another whole population of invisible homeless, and these are the ones who are couch surfing, sleeping in their car, sleeping in tents, sleeping in garages, overcrowded houses and so on. So yeah, the issues of homelessness are quite far-reaching.
Do you think Tauranga people don't really know about these people and they kind of turn a blind eye?
They do, because they are in town and sleeping on park benches and things like that. But what the council went along and done, and they thought it was actually good by banning them sort of out of the CBD, and what it really done was just push them to the outskirts, and so they were ending up in the suburbs of Tauranga and places like that. So I actually spoke with Mike and said, look, we've got to stop that, and that's the wrong thing to do. We need to actually do something for them instead of trying to push them away, thinking that it's going to eradicate them all, but it didn't. It actually made it just worse for different suburbs of Tauranga.
Yeah. And I think too, the response we've had, we have a Facebook page and it's just lit up with people liking that page, people walking up the path here with bags of groceries, total strangers, but just want to do something to help. I think it's touched a response within the community. So I think people are aware. I think people feel this is long overdue, and we're just overwhelmed with support. So no, people do understand, and I think they see this as being a really positive thing for our community.
Andrew, you are a former street person, used to live on the street, so tell me, what is the best thing about when you actually have somewhere to sleep for the night? Is it at getting that full night's sleep, or having a shower, or just simply having a roof over your head?
It's probably all of that, the shower and the bed, and knowing that they can wake up and have a cup of coffee in the morning and have a feed without having to go through. Certain people will go through the rubbish bins in town, and that's how they get their food on a daily basis, So it is good for Tauranga that they've actually done it.
Registration for a good night's sleep is from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the shelter. Up next on Central News, we hear from Hauraki District Mayor John Tregidga about the Karangahaki Gorge mining issue. Welcome back to Central News. Last night we heard from Ruby Powell about the public outcry over Talisman Mine in Karangahaki Gorge being reopened for mining. Tonight we hear from Hauraki District Mayor John Tregidga with the council's side of the story.
John, why were the public not notified about the planning, testing and bulk sampling that's going on in the mine?
Yeah, and I think it's a shame, and I think on reflection that we, even though we didn't have a legal obligation from what the reports and the staff that have told me, we certainly, I believe, we could have done a lot better in getting to that community and telling them exactly what this application was about, because there's a lot of confusion out there about exactly what has been asked for. So I accept that, but as under the Resource Management Act and under the conditions, there wasn't a need in the assessment, and we had an independent consultant assess it as well. It was deemed to only be up to 6 truck movements a day on a road, and that was deemed to be so minor that it didn't require a consent and permission from residents.
I think maybe what's getting people so worked up is that this is merely the stage 1 to what's going to possibly launch into a full active mining operation.
I agree with that. On this application, it is very minor. It is bulk sampling, but it is mining. Under the law, it's not mining, but it is, let's be honest. It is bulk sampling, and they are going to mineralise. They need to do that and they're in existing tunnels here. They don't have to build a tunnel. There's 35 kilometres of tunnel in that mountain. So they have to actually make sure that there's sufficient minerals in there before they apply for a full-scale licence. And frankly, I was the one that was really moved to make sure that Karangahaki Gorge is significant and has protection on it. And I have to say that I will find it extremely challenging for anyone to do mining out of there, full-scale mining. And I'll watch with interest about how this applicant can actually get a full-scale mine in there, because it is a significant piece of real estate. And I've another one that's been very much in the rail trail on that. So I'm right behind the public in that. I have some concerns about full-scale mining, but under the law, the way it sits at the moment, this bulk sampling is appropriate, and they were deemed to have permission. So.
And how long is this process going to take?
They say it could take 18 months to 12 months. That's because we've limited the amount of trucks that come off in any one day. And my understanding is not 6 every day, by the way. This is a maximum of 6 every day. And they're only allowed 1 blast a day. So they may blast for 3 or 4 days and then truck it all off. Up to 6 truck movements. So it's not 6 every day. So I think we need to be careful. And the 600 tonnes per month is a maximum. So they're the maximum levels.
It's still a lot, though.
It is a lot. And that's what actually even surprised me when I actually looked at the application. I've actually looked here at what's been happening in there. We get exploration permits all over our district, particularly in the Waihi Basin. So I've had a long history in that. And this has been going since 92, 97, 2009 is the latest one, that they've had a 25-year licence in there. And you know, I hadn't realised the scale of this, to be fair, and I acknowledge that, and I want to be upfront about that. Apologies. I'm going to hold a public meeting on Tuesday the 30th at 6 o'clock at Pyro Memorial Hall. Because I want to actually front up and actually look and see if I can have a question and answer to address all those issues that have been coming out and have been concerning, particularly the local residents.
So can you assure that the local residents will be kept informed of any progression in this?
And that's the start of this public meeting. In actual fact, I'm meeting a group of those residents next week to actually look at the specific questions, and then so we can answer them on the 30th. And the other thing I need to tell people, look, you need to know both major parties have endorsed the Minerals Act, which allows minerals to be extracted.
Central News will keep you updated on any developments to this story. It's time to take a look at the weather for Wednesday now, with Hamilton expecting early drizzle to clear, some fine spells increasing, and sou'westerlies with a high of 17 degrees expected. Taking a look around the region, morning drizzle, then increasing fine spells with sou'westerlies easing. Expect a high of 18 in Pāroa with a low of 8 overnight. Same for Matamata with that low. Expect a high of 15. Te Awamutu, you should get to 17 with a low of 6, and 17 Tokoroa's high as well with a low of 5 overnight. Tauranga, rain easing to showers with nor'westerlies expected and a high of 18 degrees, 9 your overnight low. Taking a look around the bay, mainly fine, sou'westerlies dying away. Te Puke, you can expect a high of 18 degrees with a low of 8 overnight. And that's Central News for today, Tuesday the 23rd of September 2014. Thank you for joining me. Amy will be joining you tomorrow night, but make sure you join our Facebook page. Let us know of news in your community. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. Ka kite anō.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.